Kate Partridge, the host of RT World Sports. Look, you've been counting down the months, the weeks, the days, and now we're down to the minutes here. The ceremony's kicked off the Olympics. Why is this such a big one this time around?
I think it's because it's part of a wider sporting legacy. I mean, this is the 22nd Winter Olympics. It's the biggest sporting event to take part in Russia since the 1980 Moscow Olympics. Now, why is this such a big event? Why is this part of history? Well, I think that goes back to Vancouver 2010, when Russia finished a disappointing 11th, I should say, overall, 15 medals, 3 of them gold. And the Russian government looked and thought, well, winter sport has always been our bastion, it's been our stronghold. So what they did is they set about systematically changing the heads of sporting federations. They invested, I think it's an estimated $1 billion into promising athletes. And they also set about in creating what is the biggest post-Soviet construction site, which of course was turning a subtropical climate place like Sochi into a winter sporting venue. And so they've done that as part of this legacy. It's also on the back of an investment in sport that's been going on throughout the year. So we had the University Games in Kazan, we also had the World Athletics, and also we're going to have a Formula One race in Sochi. We're going to have the first Grand Prix in Russia for a century.
There are a lot of firsts that are taking place in Sochi for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Miss Partridge of RT World Sports, you've been chomping at the bit ever since Russia was awarded this Sochi Winter Olympics here. Talk to us about some of the athletes, some of the competitions here. You've got your eyes on some big names, haven't you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, as we said, it's the biggest sporting event to take place in Russia since 1980. And at the 1980 Olympics, there were 60 countries that didn't take part. But this time round, we have 87 national Olympic committees and some star-studded names for a Winter Olympics. And if we could look at some of them, looking at the foreign stars that were coming to Russia, the first one of these is Shaun White. Now, Shaun White made headlines right at the beginning of the Olympics on day one because he pulled out of the slopestyle event. But he's bidding for a third consecutive half-pipe gold.
Shaun White, doesn't he have a funny nickname?
Yes, he's the Flying Tomato.
The Flying Tomato.
Absolutely. He used to have long, red, flowing locks.
I remember.
That was part of his trademark, but he cut them off, apparently, for a children's charity, and he donated his locks for children who'd lost their hair through medical treatments. Oh, an amazing guy, ex-Games legend, and of course, he's, as I say, he's focusing now on going for a third consecutive half-pipe gold, and that's in the snowboarding. And if you move from snowboarding, then going on to the alpine skiing. Now, the alpine skiing is actually noted, particularly this time round, for a big absentee, and this absentee is the USA's Lindsey Vonn. Lindsey Vonn won the downhill gold in Canada and has had to pull out through injury, which kind of opens up the alpine skiing for the women very much so. You have Michaela Schifrin, who's an American teenager who learned how to ski on her parents' drive. You have Slovenia's Tina Mays, who absolutely lit up the World Cup events. Germany's Maria Hervel-Riesch, and of course Vanessa May, who isn't expected to win any medals, but is going to be competing for Thailand. That's her father's nationality. In the men's, Ted Ligety, Marcel Hirscher, Axel von Svindel, all the big names are expected to star in the men's event. But the biathlon, now the biathlon has always been a Russian kind of heavyweight, a grande sport. And of course, the Russians are going to be very much in there, particularly when it comes to the team events. But when you're looking at individuals, then you're looking at the French, Ukrainians and Norwegians. In terms of the French and the sprint champion, you've got a guy called Martin Fourcade, who's a defending champion. He's going to be going for gold as well. And the Norwegians is a guy called Olli Einar Bjørndalen, and he's in his 6th Olympics, and he's going for a 12th medal. Wow. And then in terms of moving away from the biathlon, you go to figure skating. Of course, we've had the great news that Yevgeny Plushenko is back for Russia after all his injuries, leading the team event at the moment. But in the ladies' event, we have a lady called Yoona Kim, who is the darling of South Korea. She's the defending champion. She wants to go out on a high at 23 and retire at 23. How nice that would be.
Oh,
having won absolutely everything and defend her title.
Incredible.
That would be great. But there's a couple of Russians also in there too. There's a lady called Yulia Lipnitskaya and another called Adalina Sotnikova, and they did fantastically at the Euros. They lit up the Euros in Budapest about 6 weeks ago. So they'll be going for gold too. And then let's go to the luge, and then we start going down the track events, which are great. And then it's a case of old versus young, or young versus old. You have a guy called Felix Lok, who won Olympic gold when he was 20. He's absolutely incredible, against a guy who's Italian called Armin Zergler. And Armin Zergler, I think he's 42 now. Yes, he is. And he's going in his, I think it's his 6th Olympics. And they're also up against a Russian guy called Albert Demchenko, who's in his 7th Olympics. He's 42. So these are the guys who are going to be lighting up the luge. But in terms of the skeleton, then that's actually something for the British women to have a look at. Yes. It might actually be a goal for Britain. We have the current world champion, Mrs. Shelley Rudman, and also the World Cup holder, which is Lizzie Yarnall. Arnold and an American called Noel Piker's Pace who will be pushing them all there. And in the men's, it's Martins de Koers. He's the famous Latvian, which used to be where all the Soviets got their gold as well from the Latvians years ago. He'll be going for gold along with Alexander Trichyakov. And finally, let's come to the curling. Now, the Russian ladies team, I think they did extremely well in the Euros. They came 6th in the world. But really, again, an opportunity for the British to shine. The Scottish are the world champions, and Eve Muirhead will be leading the British chase when it comes to rolling the stones as skip for the great British team. Who knows?
Wow, well, good stuff indeed, Kate. You've been keeping a very close watch of the Olympics. James Brown, our intrepid explorer who's sitting next to me, who's been all over Russia, following the flame everywhere. Apparently, he's got something underneath the desk that he's been hiding a bit. Go on.
Well, don't make it sound slightly so suspicious. But,
Go on.
Fine. I do have to bring this out because this is my own very special souvenir.
But
after I'd seen so many people all over the country running with the Olympic torch, I got the chance to get one for myself.
But James, that should be down in Sochi, not here in Moscow.
Well, I do understand that, but I have to tell you that there are 14,000 of these.
14,000?
14,000 for the 14,000 torchbearers. Each one got the chance to own their individual torch. Now, I got mine when I was in Ufa in the south of Russia, and you get given it and you're suddenly part of this exclusive club, and you're high-fiving your fellow torchbearers. You're in the middle of a party, basically.
Yeah, you are,
waiting to do your run, and you've got maybe just, you've got 1 minute to run 200 metres, and you think, oh gosh, don't let it go out, please don't drop it, just let it all go smoothly. But you know that for just that time, you are the only person in the world who's holding the Olympic flame.
Come on, mate, James. Hand it over here. Let's have a look. Let's have a...
Whoa!
Is he heavy?
It's quite heavy, actually.
From Ufa, that is.
From Ufa, Bashkortostan.
That is...
well done!
That's my special...
That is beautiful. Here, Kate, have a go with this, my dear.
Can you light
mildly heavy there.
Can you
mildly
take
heavy.
a to it?
Well, I think, if I had a handy security guard with one either side, but they do make sure that they're safe afterwards, because you can see at the very top, you've got where the fire has actually burned it. So that is the Olympic flame.
You can see the marks of it.
Marked into the torch.
James, I just feel that you've nicked it. You stole it, mate. I mean, that really should be done in Moscow. You're a cheeky boy.
I know Paul and Kevin and the guys are having a lovely time down there. They're also working very hard, but they're having a great time in weather considerably warmer than Moscow. But I don't think anybody's going to come home with a toy quite.
Well, fair enough. Now, listen, guys, if I can, before we head back down to Sochi, I do want to have a chat with Kate Partridge, of course. Everyone knows Kate, our host of RT World International Sports. Can you talk to us just a little bit, we haven't got much time, but a little bit about the Russian team and who have you got your eye on?
Well, we have the biggest Russian team there's ever been at a Winter Games, 223 athletes, and of course the star of the Games, as he's been so many times before, is Yevgeny Plushenko. Plushenko is almost like a Cinderella story this time round, 31 years old, being injured, was in huge doubt as to whether or not he would take part. He took part at the Russian Nationals. He came second to an 18-year-old. Then he couldn't compete at the Europeans, and we thought he's not going to make it. He did a behind-closed-doors trial. Now he's the darling of the Olympics. He's managed to take the team event, which is making its debut, and take Russia to the top, along with the pair skaters, so fingers crossed for the Russian team there. The pair skaters themselves, who are also backing up the Russian team, are Tatiana Volosojar and Maxim Trankov, and they're favourites to take the gold. They're already the world champions, the European champions, they're the world record holders when it comes to the short and long programmes. So they're really the hot favourites, along with Plushenko at the moment, see how he's doing in terms of taking gold in pair skating. But in terms of the daddy of the Russian team, there's only one. That's Alexander Zubkov, who's the bobsledder. He was the Russian flag bearer, as Andy alluded to earlier. He's 39 years old in his 5th Olympics. He's going for gold. He's had silver and bronze before. He retired after Vancouver. Now it's his opportunity to go for gold. In terms of gold, though, that there was in Vancouver, that's Nikita Krukov, and a chap who's also sort of backing him up, which is Alexander Legkov, and that's in the cross-country skiing. Now, Krukov is the classical sprint champion. He's also the favourite to take gold, the world champion. Legkov has done well at the, I think it's called the Tour de Ski, that's right. He beat Peter Northug and all the Norwegian contingent. So cross-country skiing, that's looking good for a medal there. And then also, in terms of looking good for a medal, is also Ivan Skobrev in the speed skating, in the longer version of the event. He's also going for gold. He's had Olympic silver and bronze before, and he turns 31 tomorrow. So what a lucky omen that might be for the Games. And in terms of the shorter version, I should say, of the skating events, there's Viktor Ahn and Vladimir Grigoriev. Now, it's an interesting story there, because both of these guys have changed nationality. Because Viktor Ahn used to be Ahn Hyun-soo, who won 3 golds for South Korea here in 2006, changed his nationality. He's now skating for Russia. And Vladimir Grigoriev, he's a Ukrainian, he's the European champion, and he's also changed his nationality. In terms of snowboarding, we have Yekaterina Tudegesheva. She was the first Russian female snowboarding champion, 2007, going for gold again. And finally, we couldn't talk about the Russian team without talking about the men's ice hockey team. It's the final event. It's the final event of the Olympics. As a Russian nation in its own right, they've never won the gold. 7 golds with the Soviet Union, 1 as the unified team in 1992, led by Pavel Datsuk, Yevgeny Malkin and Alexander Ovechkin. What a way to end the games it would be if Russia could take gold at the final event.
Well, certainly they've got a lot of hopes going for them. I know the last Winter Olympics didn't go that well for Russia, so they've got the biggest team now in ages, and let's just see how they do. James, you know, listen, I've sat here, I've actually nicked your Olympic torch, and I was going to... No, I'm not going to give it back.